You pick up your phone to check the time. It's 11 p.m. Fine, you'll just scroll for a minute before bed. 1 minute becomes 5. 5 becomes 20. You read about a war, a natural disaster, a political scandal, a study that says something you eat every day is killing you. Your brain is firing with anxiety, your chest feels tight, and some part of you knows you should stop. But you don't stop. You keep scrolling. An hour later, you put the phone down. You feel worse than when you picked it up. You didn't learn anything useful. You didn't feel entertained. You just feel drained, anxious, and vaguely hopeless. And tomorrow night, you'll do it all again. This is doom scrolling. And it's not a bad habit. It's not laziness. It's not weakness. It is your brain doing exactly what it was designed to do and being exploited for it. Let's start with the basics. What actually happens in your brain when you scroll? Every time you open your phone and swipe down on your feed, something happens in the brain that neuroscientists call a variable reward mechanism. The concept was first studied in the 1950s by psychologist B.F. Skinner. He placed rats in a box with a lever. When the rat pressed the lever, it sometimes got a food pellet. Not always, sometimes, randomly. What Skinner discovered was shocking. The rats that received rewards randomly, unpredictably, pressed the lever far more obsessively than rats that received a reward every single time. Predictable rewards were satisfying, but unpredictable rewards were addictive. Now replace the lever with your thumb. Replace the food pellet with a funny video, a breaking news story, a photo that makes you laugh, or a headline that makes your stomach drop. Every time you scroll, you don't know what's coming next. Maybe something interesting, maybe something devastating, maybe something that makes you feel something. That unpredictability is not a bug in social media design. It is the entire product. The feed is a slot machine, and your brain is a rat that cannot stop pressing the lever. But why negativity specifically? Why does bad news grab us harder than good news? Why, out of 30 posts on your feed, does your eye land on the one that says something terrible? The answer is evolution. For hundreds of thousands of years, your ancestors lived in environments where missing a piece of positive information, a fruit bush, a beautiful sunset, cost them nothing. But missing a piece of negative information, a predator, a rival, a threat, could cost them their life. So the human brain evolved with what psychologists call a negativity bias, a hardwired tendency to prioritize, notice, and remember negative information over positive information. Bad news isn't just more interesting to your brain, it is more important to your brain, biologically speaking. A threat demands attention. A threat demands processing. Your nervous system treats a frightening headline the way it was designed to treat a lion in the grass, with immediate, focused, unavoidable attention. The problem is that your brain cannot easily tell the difference between a threat that is happening to you right now and a threat you are reading about on the other side of the world. When you read about a disaster in another country, your amygdala, the brain's alarm system, fires in much the same way it would if the threat were real and immediate. Your cortisol levels rise. Your heart rate increases slightly. Your body enters a low-grade state of stress. And here is the cruel twist. Stress makes you want more information. When our ancestors sensed danger, the safest response was to gather as much information as possible about the threat. Is it getting closer? How many are there? Where can I hide? That instinct is still running in your brain today. The more anxious the news makes you, the more your brain tells you to keep reading, because maybe the next piece of information will tell you what to do. Maybe the next story will give you a sense of control. It never does, but you keep looking. Now add another layer, dopamine. Dopamine is one of the brain's most important neurotransmitters. It's often described as the pleasure chemical, but that's not quite accurate. Dopamine is less about pleasure and more about anticipation. It's the chemical that fires when you expect something rewarding might be coming. It's what makes you excited before something good happens, not during or after. This is crucial. Dopamine spikes in the moment of seeking, not in the moment of finding. The scroll itself, the act of moving through the feed, not knowing what's next, triggers dopamine. The seeking is the reward, which means even when every story you read is depressing, your brain is still being rewarded by the act of looking. The high comes from the search, not the content. So even content that makes you miserable keeps you scrolling, because the search itself feels compelling. This is why you can spend an hour reading genuinely upsetting news and still find it nearly impossible to put your phone down. Your rational brain says, "This is making me feel awful." Your dopamine system says, "But something interesting might be just one more scroll away." And the apps know this. Every major social media platform employs teams of psychologists, behavioral scientists, and engineers whose sole job is to keep you engaged as long as possible. The infinite scroll, the fact that there is no bottom of the page, no natural stopping point, was deliberately designed to remove the moment where your brain would naturally pause and decide whether to continue. The autoplay feature on video platforms removes the gap between one video and the next, the moment where you might put down your phone and go to sleep. Former president of Facebook, Sean Parker, admitted in 2017 that the platform was deliberately built to exploit a vulnerability in human psychology. "How do we consume as much of your time and conscious attention as possible?" he said. "That was the explicit goal, not connection, not information, consumption of your attention. Your attention is the product. You are not using the app is using you, and the consequences are serious." Study after study has linked heavy social media use and doomscrolling specifically to increased rates of anxiety, depression, and disrupted sleep. Reading emotionally activating content before bed, which doomscrolling almost always involves, suppresses the production of melatonin, the hormone that signals to your brain that it's time to sleep. It also keeps your cortisol levels elevated long after you've put the phone down. You lie in the dark, your mind cycling through the things you read, your nervous system still slightly on high alert. Over time, chronic doom scrolling rewires the brain's threat detection system. It begins to perceive the world as more dangerous, more chaotic, and more hopeless than it actually is, because the feed is specifically designed to surface the most extreme, most alarming, most emotionally provocative content first. The algorithm does not show you a representative sample of the world. It shows you the world's worst moments, optimized for engagement. So how do you stop? First, understand that willpower alone will not work. You are not fighting a bad habit. You are fighting a system built by some of the most sophisticated engineers and psychologists on Earth, specifically designed to defeat your willpower. Telling yourself to just use your phone less is like trying to win a chess match against a grandmaster with no experience. The system is too well designed. What actually works is changing the environment, not the behavior. Delete the apps from your phone's home screen and make them harder to access. Set your phone to grayscale. The brain responds less intensely to colorless screens, and feeds become significantly less compelling. Charge your phone in another room overnight so it is physically not the first or last thing you interact with each day. Give your brain a competing reward. The reason doom scrolling is so hard to replace is that it requires zero effort and delivers instant stimulation. You need something that delivers stimulation with similarly low friction. A book kept on your bedside table, a podcast loaded and ready, a physical activity you can start within 30 seconds. The first few days, your brain will resist. It will reach for the phone out of pure habit. But every time you redirect it, you are weakening the old neural pathway and building a new one. And finally, the most important thing, understand that your brain is not broken. You are not weak. You are not failing. You are a human being with an ancient, powerful brain that was built for a world that no longer exists, being targeted by systems built specifically to exploit that brain's deepest vulnerabilities. The fact that you can't stop doom scrolling isn't a character flaw. It's a design feature. The first step to changing it is knowing that. So, does any of this sound familiar? Let me know in the comments how doom scrolling affects you and what's actually helped you cut back. And if you found this video useful, subscribe. We won't make you doom scroll to find us.